Thank you all for joining. My name is Gal Klein. I'm the CEO of Audioburst. With me is also Yoav Appel, who's our VP of Operations, that will make sure that all this is recorded and distributed, and so you'll be able to watch it again and send to friends. And if you have questions at the end, there's going to be a Q&A. So bear with me. Also want to thank Microsoft, who's helping to arrange this webinar. So I want to appreciate them as well. And let's start. So this presentation is coming from Audioburst and basically trying to explain why not just using speech to text and how to leverage your audio data for optimal value. So let's go over a little bit about the basics. So what is speech to text? So we all been either using or sending our content for transcription. It's basically a way to have audio being transcribed automatically by a machine and convert the spoken words into written text. What you get from when you send your content to speech to text is you currently get a list of words with their time codes. So you get a per word time code. When was each word mentioned throughout the timeline of your content? Some transcription engines will give you also punctuation. It's basic punctuation. It's not always accurate. And some might even give you some speaker identity, speaker one, speaker two, some kind of a speaker breakdown. But what are you not getting when you're doing speech to text? And if you analyze the audio deep enough, you'll see that there's a lot of additional signals that you don't get when you just do speech to text. You're not getting all the non-spoken signals, like is it a male speaking or a female? Is the music right now playing? Maybe music in the background, maybe background noises. Is there silence, hesitation in speech, laughter? All these auditory symbols are usually not coming out. Also, you don't really get any understanding of what was spoken. You just get an array of words with their time codes, but you're not getting any understanding on what was the topic discussed, what were the key phrases, what were the important things that were discussed, and some kind of a differentiation between the essence and the fluff. So even when I'm doing this presentation, at the beginning, I was saying some thank you, and I mentioned, let's say Yoav or anyone else joining, but this is not about Yoav or this is not about the participant. This is about not just speech to text. So the ability to understand what is the essence of the audio and what is just fluff or an intro or an outro or just some joke in the middle is not something when you're just doing speech to text. So what do people usually do with speech to text? Does everybody see my slides okay? Just to make sure, thumbs up, yeah, good. So people want to use speech to text for search, but it doesn't really work because how do you prioritize mentions? Like if I just gave and a podcast about music, and I mentioned Madonna, but it's not about Madonna. But I mentioned her, so it might come up as a search, but it's not really that specific content that I'm looking for. So searching for specific words doesn't really serve the purpose. Also, even if I did speak about Madonna, I might mention her at the end of my sentence. So if I jump to that point in time, you might hear me say the word Madonna and then talk about another singer because I don't have context. I don't have the beginning and end of a sentence or of an idea. And basically audio and also video is all about storytelling. So when you build up a story, the way I'm doing right now is you want to build up. You want to start by an idea and then talk about it. And then at the end, give your finale. Searching for word time codes does not give you that. And that's why search for audio content has not been very successful as of yet. And I think you all share that view. Some people use it for SEO. So using that for SEO was tried and failed because basically in order to make Google love your content and be able to go and actually, I'm just admitting more people that are coming in. So welcome to those who you have joined. We are talking about not just speech to text. We explained what speech to text is and what speech to text isn't. And there's going to be a recording of this whole session, so you'll be able to catch up what you missed. So to use it for SEO, you need to put it on your web page. First of all, you need a web page, but you need to put it on a web page in a way that Google recognizes that this is the essence of your page and will actually analyze that content. But then you lose the whole idea of, I'm producing audio, I'm not producing text. And people who try to put that transcript hidden somewhere within their pages found that Google is just skipping that content and not putting any use to it. So we tried it with search. We understand that it's not good enough. We tried for SEO, but it's not producing the effect that we have wanted. So let's go to the basics and let's look at all the search platforms and for content discovery that we have ever seen. It starts with Google search, and it could be a Facebook feed or a TikTok feed or Instagram feed or any kind of service that tries to promote or provoke you to find specific content that they're looking for. And there are some key components to each and every one of them. One, content results or search results or feeds have to be short. Google is not returning the full page when they're searching. It only gives you a short snippet. Even Facebook feeds are shortened to make them so you can understand the essence, but not the whole post that someone has written. And if it's not short, you can't skim through it. You can't really go one after another in the search results until you find what you're looking for. The second thing, it has to be relevant. So when people see the result, they have to understand why did they get this result and how relevant it is to their search term. And not in the beginning, but definitely afterwards, it needs to be personalized. I might want to search for content that has high tempo with male speaking, and someone wants a slower speech with female speaking. So all this needs to be personalized. And that's basically what Audioburst has been doing in the last 7 years. So this webinar comes from experience and not just our state of mind or our views. So what is content analysis? How can we do a deeper analysis of content and to start understanding more and give a better experience for search, discoverability, and a better product fit for your customers and your listeners? So yes, the basic is speech to text. That's the first thing you need to do. The second layer that you need to do is extract audio cues. You need to understand who's speaking, at what tempo, what is in the background, where are the breaks, where did someone laugh, where did someone sing because it was a promo. All that needs to be breaking down, and these data you need to get. Why do you need to get all that data? So you can now analyze and take your long form content and segment it. Think about having a book with no chapters. It's very hard to read. You need the ability to, even for a book, and a chapter is not a short item, you need to have breaks in the middle. And segmentation is the ability to say this was the introduction, then they were talking about this topic or about that specific piece of data for X amount of time. And segmentation can be done either by understanding changes in topics or finding breaks that will be a good point in time to issue. After you do that, you need to go and do deep NLP. NLP is natural language processing. It's the ability to take text and audio and extract emotions, key phrases, entities. Entities are basically keywords with a type, like it's a person, or it's an organization, or it's a place, or it's a currency. So you need to do a very deep NLP assessment of each of these segments, and then try to find a single piece of short form audio that is mostly representative to your content. So when you do a search, when you showcase your content, by listening to 2 minutes of content, okay, maybe 30 seconds, maybe longer, but the range is between 30 seconds to 2.5 minutes, people understand what you're going to be talking about. be talking about, and have a full understanding of, do I want to listen to this further? Maybe that information was enough, or maybe that's not the content that I want, and I can skip to the next content. So basically, these phases of content analysis are the phases that allow you to go and provide these 3 items: short, relevant, because you're going to give them just the relevant piece of audio, and personalized, because we will have so much information about our audio that we will have a deeper understanding of what is being discussed. Now, I know this is not a technological demo, and we're not here to talk to only to developers, although at the end we're offering APIs to go and take your content and analyze that. So this is my, instead of part of my French, part of my JSONs, but I want to show you how does that data look when it's being processed. So first of all, as I mentioned, there's pair word timing. This you're going to get from any speech engine. Here you can get also audio cues. So if we zoom in, we can see that in this piece of time, you can see you have a start time and a duration. The text was there was speech. It was spoken by a male, and there was music in the background. Also, you can see that that first word was welcome, and that's the start time of that. So basically, you can understand that if someone is listening to content with speech, with music in the background, it could be the beginning of that content, because later on you turn off that music in the background. But just analyzing this, you can understand if people like to listen to music in the background, if they dropped, what was the portion of the content that had speech or just music. So that's part one. That was the 2 basic layers that I showed you before. Segmentation. This is where we're cutting the audio into pieces. So a sample for that could be that for the first 113 seconds of that content, it was just music or a song. So you know that that was not an important content. And if you return that as your search results, then people will spend 2 minutes listening to music and they will drop off, because that they don't understand why this content is even relevant for them. If you look, then you can see that the next section was about news finance, and these were the entities and keywords that were discussed, and that lasted from 114 seconds to 435 seconds into that content. So you have a very deep understanding what was the information that was in your user's ear when they passed through that timeline of listening to your content. That NLP, that natural language processing, keywords and entities. So if we look at that, we can see that there was a key phrase, a lot of known risk. This was an important sentence. It came as a positive sentence, although it risks. So someone said, maybe it tells you about the known risks. And you can also get emotion, sadness, joy, fear, disgust, anger, all that extracted. So you can see that someone was talking about this piece of content in a very positive way. When we're talking about entities, we can see that Ethereum Foundation is an organization. It was mentioned twice. That's the relevancy for that piece of content, also coming in a pretty positive context. So I know that this is a lot of structured data, but I hope I managed to let you see what is the depth of real content analysis versus just speech to text. And as I mentioned, for each piece of content, there's a promo burst. After segmenting everything, if you play that piece of audio, and you can see that this ID matches this ID, so these 200 or 300 seconds piece, that will give your user an understanding of what is going to be discussed in that piece of content. So what do I do with all that data? You gave me just a bunch of JSONs, and how can I leverage that data? So you can understand what users are listening to. Basically, what were the topics? What were the entities? What were the key phrases of their entire listening journey? If they drop, if they skip, you can have an understanding what was not interesting for them. And if you see that many people skipped in that portion, you know that this is where you failed. This was not where this content was interesting for them. And you can analyze the effect of background noises, like, okay, my listeners like male voice versus female voice. They like music in the background. They like me speaking fast. They like me speaking slow. All these, we can have a direct understanding once we collect all the data on the listenership side. How does that affect my listeners? As I mentioned, you now can provide a functional search, because now each piece of your content is analyzed. And when you search, you can search for a segment instead of searching for the whole piece of content, and come out with a piece of audio that is short, is relevant, has context, and is a doorway to your full audio content. So you're not just searching mentions in specific time codes, you're actually bringing value to your users with that search. And you can create a new type of listener engagement. Now there's short form audio, and that short form audio can help you understand how to engage with your listeners. So usually, where it doesn't matter if you're a radio host or you're a podcaster, your entire communication is one-sided. You speak and hopefully someone listens. And your only feedback is, do I have more users or did they come back again? But if you give them the ability to take that short piece of content and share it on social media and have a discussion about that because they appreciate that specific idea, then now you can understand first, what are they searching for? How are they engaging with this piece of content? They can finally have a discussion where you can understand the influence of what you said on the users. And it's now, instead of a one-way street, it's a two-way street where you're getting feedback from your users. Also, instead of just monetizing on your long-form audio, you can now have the ability to monetize on these short-form audios, because every time a discussion is made and every time that piece of audio is being played, you can either sell that piece of audio, and I'll mention that later, or have ads attached to that. So, or your sponsors now can not just sponsor the beginning of your podcast, they can also sponsor the short form and the discussion. So when someone goes and shares a short piece of content from your podcast or from your radio host, when the engagement starts and people listening that on Twitter or any other social network, they'll hear your sponsor or see their banner when it's played. Hopefully, I'll have questions and I'll present that in a working way in a few more minutes. So again, my name is Gal Klein and I'm the CEO of Audioburst. So how can we help you achieve these goals? So we also didn't like to provide only JSON files to our customers, because if it's a customer that knows how to build a player and it knows how to analyze all the analytics of the playback, then they can cross-reference it with the data that we give them, and that's cool. But there's not a lot of people who have that. So we came up with a solution that, as you can see, has been used and tested and trusted by many market and industry leaders. And we've been doing this in Japan, and we're doing this in the US, and we have strong relationship with Salem and Cumulus and TuneIn, providing them with this data, but also with a product. So we do that using a product called Audioburst Finder. It's a widget. It's a web widget that you can very easily add to your page. What does that widget gives you? It's a full product in a very short snippet of code. First of all, it lets your users search for your content, and the results are those bursts, those short form items. But now people can engage with your content by searching for a specific topic, and your podcast may be on a specific topic, or your radio feed might be talking about a lot of topics, and that specific topic can now be surfaced to your listeners. Of course, they can always continue listening by playing the full podcast, and that's played from your hosting facility. So now you can get more engagement and people can listen to your content, not just on their podcast apps, but also after finding that piece of audio on your site through that widget. There's a share option. You can take now this piece of content and you can share it on social media. You can share it on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, wherever you want to share it, you can share that because we give that burst a home. That home can either reside in your webpage or on our webpage if you don't have the capability. But basically, we can build a burst page, a page on the web where this audio sits on your website. So you own everything and you serve everything. So just imagine the amount of people that will come just because of a Twitter feed to visit that audio on your website again. We will give you feedback. We will tell you what's the trending searches, and we will tell you what people are looking for. Now you can understand what your listeners are looking for. What are they searching? And what's trending right now in your content? So you're getting a feedback. That's the two-way street that I had mentioned before. Each piece comes with a monetization banner. And that monetization has two features, a banner, okay, or in-audio injections of your feed. So if you create this service is brought to you by Andrew and Todd or whomever your sponsor is, we'll make sure that when people play these audio bursts, that short intro from your sponsors will be played every time. Again, not too many times, not on every visit of your user, but definitely on every first listenership in a few hours. So now you have a way to go and basically make money from that widget just by having a sponsor to sponsor that widget. So it's a win-win, three-way win solution. And last but not least, we will offer in the very near future the ability to sell your specific audio burst as NFTs. So if you have people who want to support you, if they want to own a piece of your content, if they want to show their appreciation to your content, you have that ability. And that can only be done on short-form audio. This widget comes with different designs. So you can see that we have created, it's a skinnable player. So we will match the design of the player to your website. It will look like the interval part of your solution, of your website, and that's on us. As you can see, people are sharing content on social media, and we have a lot of examples. So you can just, there's a link here, but you can just search for @Audioburst on Twitter and see how many people are mentioning, using, and starting conversation on Twitter using these short pieces of audio. Here's a little case study of the reports that we can give you, and this is for Mark Levin, showing for a specific week how many people searched, what did they search for, how many people listened, on what device. So basically you're getting a full reporting and a full analysis of how people engaged. There's of course how many times people shared. This is just sample data from the report, but you're going to get full insights of what is happening in that widget, so you can have full visibility to how people engage with your content. And that's the basic flow. So if you have the ability to track listenership and change the way you're interacting with your user using your own player in your own environment, then we'll give you the data on the analysis, on the content analysis. You can collect the listenership, and basically you get all the information that I mentioned. You don't, we'll bring you a widget that's supposed to be self-paying for that service, because either you bring the sponsors or we'll bring the sponsors. That's up to you to decide. But basically, there's a full solution for content discoverability in a small widget that you can put on your webpage. Love to hear your questions. I'm going to stop sharing so I'll have better visibility to who's speaking and what's speaking and who raises their hand for questions. Are there any? I think there's, if you click on the reactions, there's a raised hand. Yes, yes, Joe.
Yes, hi. I'm very new at this, although I've been doing podcasts for a couple of years. So it sounds like your content analysis doesn't rely on transcriptions per se in order to get to this Audioburst finder, this widget. You don't have to transcribe the speech to text.
So we do when we take your content, we'll do speech to text, audio cues, segmentation, NLP, and with that, our AI is able to create these bursts that then can be searched using the finder.
Okay, so the bursts I can see value in. I don't see a lot of value in the transcripts per se. So am I right in thinking that? Yeah, okay. Okay.
That's exactly it. We've seen a lot of companies and a lot of people spend a lot of money on transcription, even though the prices are very, very small, and we have a very affordable speech to text solution. People just do it, but they don't utilize it. So they don't do anything with it. The idea is to do an in-depth analysis of your content, and by that, providing all these capabilities that I've just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Anyone else? That usually means that either I did a very good job or nobody understood the word I was saying. Okay, guys, so I will jump to the next slide, which is if you have questions, if there's anything you need, and how can you access that capability. So first of all, here are my details. I will also copy them and send them.
Gal, you're not sharing the screen.
I'm not sharing the
see your
screen.
screen.
Right. Just a minute.
No.
I'm just trying to copy that text so I can share it here in the chat, and it will also be in the follow-up email that we will send to all of you. Now let me share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yep, seeing that.
Yep. Okay. So basically, that solution there's also a very easy way to integrate with our services. We've just launched, with the help of Microsoft, a marketplace on Azure that basically you can just, with a few clicks of a button, get full access to our services. That's for the content analysis and that JSON part. If you want the full Finder solution, feel free to contact me. We'll take your content, your RSS feeds, and start processing your content, providing you with the widget, and we can discuss additional ways to go and monetize your content. But again, you don't have to use Audioburst Finder in order to bring value to your content. You can just use our content analysis, get access to all the data that we analyzed, and use your own players and your own platforms in order to analyze your users' engagement, even with your regular podcasting playback. You okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate you spending the time with me today and listening to our presentation. We'll hope to hear from you soon. If not, that's okay as well. But hopefully, just don't just waste your money on just doing transcription with nothing gained. Try to be smarter with your content. Try to have direct access to your listeners. Try to see what they're looking for. Try to see what they're talking about. Do your best to engage with them, because that's the only way to improve your content. And becoming a creator with no feedback is a bit sad. We are all creators. I'm my creator myself. So I appreciate when someone tells me you did a good job or you did a bad job, or this was interesting or this was boring as hell. Without that feedback, it's very hard to create better content. So get your users to feedback to you. And thank you, Joe, for the warm words. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you very much.